Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are setting up my bullet journal for the month of August and I'm really excited for this month. So let's just jump right into it. I've been wanting to try the medium that we will be playing with in this video for a little bit now, but I just hadn't got around to it because I hadn't made that investment yet. But I'm really excited to share that Arrtx, they reached out to me and they sent this beautiful kit of acrylic markers. I have bought a set from them before, but those were alcohol markers. These are acrylic. They're different. They were super kind. I was really happy to accept receiving this kit from them because the alcohol marker set that I've tried before, I love those. Those were paid with my own pocket. These are just gifted. I'm not being paid to tell you guys about these markers. They just gifted them to me and told me to just try them out and use them in a video. And I was really happy to give them a go. Spoiler alert, I love them. But so acrylic markers are essentially markers with paint. They have acrylic paint, so it's kind of as if you were painting with acrylic paint normally, but it's just in marker format. I have tried before the Posca markers, which are also acrylic, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't love them. Maybe those are a bit more towards professional uses, or maybe just for other mediums. I didn't like the Posca ones for paper. They felt weird. These ones, I was just afraid that they would be like the Posca ones. I was afraid that they would be more driven towards using in other mediums, because you can use these to paint on surfaces, for example. I actually didn't take a picture of it, but I used these to paint on my phone cover and it looks really cute. So yeah, you can use typically acrylic markers for other mediums. The Posca ones, I've tried them before. I didn't love them on paper. These, they work beautifully on paper and they work beautifully in other surfaces. They don't bleed. They don't really ghost in this notebook. This one is an Archer and Olive notebook, which, by the way, their paper tends to be a bit thicker. It's 160 GSM, which not all notebooks have that, so keep that in mind. But I love the way that this looks. So for example, you have water-based markers, which are usually like the Tombos. You have alcohol-based markers, which are the ones that people usually use for like those adult coloring books. And you have acrylic markers. There's a difference between all three. I might make a video on this. Let me know if you would like that. But essentially, like, the water-based markers are your typical markers, that like school type of coloring markers. Alcohol-based markers are the ones that at the end, it kind of looks like a digital painting. They blend really well together. And then you have acrylic markers, which are just paint, which is what we're using here. So it's really interesting to play with these. I wasn't sure of how I wanted to use them. I knew for a fact that I wanted to use them for the August video because I'm so used to markers that you can kind of blend out in some way. And I think you may be able to do that with these, but I just didn't really know how. Actually, like, the bane of my existence as someone who likes to dive into art is that I cannot paint for the life of me. I can draw, I can do very nicely with like digital painting, things like that, but actual painting, I don't do well. I don't do well. Let's not even talk about watercolors. I do not understand people that can grab watercolors and make something beautiful out of it. That's a whole other level of skill that I will never be able to comprehend. But since painting is something that I don't do really well with, I was happy to play around with these because I felt like it was a bit of a middle ground between painting and using markers, you know. But we went with this kind of abstract floral theme. I thought this was really cute, really like graphic, and it let the colors really stand out and look really bold, which is perfect for an August summer vibe. I know that in some countries, at least, like, I know that people like in the US tend to consider like August already like the end of summer. I'm Portuguese. In my country, August is like full swing summer. It's when everyone goes on vacation. It's when everyone is hitting the beach. A lot of places are closed because people are on vacation. So for me, this is like peak summer vibes. And then you still have a lot of like summer vibes into September, kind of fading because you're going back to school. And then you enter fall in October. I don't know if that makes sense, but just to let you guys know, that's why my theme is so like summery bold this month. It made sense for me. Going in for my monthly view of the month, I didn't want to switch this up a lot. I wanted this to be very minimal. I am going on vacation this month, so I didn't really need anything super crazy for this month. I don't have habit trackers or like the most normal spreads because I won't really be using them. This month I decided, you know what, the vibe is having fun, enjoying the summer, making small progress in things that I know I want to work on and things that I know I want to be disciplined with, but not so much as harsh daily habits. It's more of a things that I want to work on throughout the month. And we'll see what I mean by that. One thing that I'll mention about the acrylic markers, I forgot about like making draft of things with pencil in some areas. Because for example, I knew that it would be tricky to like draw things out in pencil and then going over them with the acrylic markers. I remembered that it would probably be causing an issue because maybe for some colors you could see the pencil underneath and it'd be weird. So I didn't map out any of the flowers or anything, but I forgot about that when it came to the header for the days of the week. So if you're using these markers, keep in mind that you want to like place things beforehand in pencil as least as you can do, because if you're using lighter colors you will see that pencil underneath and it might look kind of funky. So just keep that in mind. But my whole thing for using these markers was to just let myself go wild. I didn't really want to have a very clear idea of where I'd be placing the flowers or the colors or anything. In the end, I actually kind of ended up overcrowding this page a little bit. It looks very like fun and bold, but me on a normal day, I would have dialed it down a little bit more with the flowers and I kind of would have gone a little bit minimal. But honestly, it was just so peaceful to just be sitting down, playing with a new type of medium, just playing with the markers, playing with the colors, just drawing to my little heart's desires. You know, it was just so freeing. There's something that's just so calm, cathartic, rejuvenating about just playing and being creative. You know, and I miss that. Which, by the way, if you guys have been around, it's why I didn't do a video for July. I feel like from time to time I get a little bit burned out from having to come up with ideas for videos regularly. And even though I don't post as often as a lot of people do, having a full-time job and then having things after hours like gym and just, you know, having normal social life and coming up with things for YouTube, it can be kind of exhausting as far as mental energy goes, because you make a lot of decisions at work, you make a lot of decisions when you're running your home, you make a lot of decisions in just your normal life, and then having to pre-plan a video can be very mentally exhausting because you do make a lot of like creative decisions and you make a lot of like rational decisions. It takes a lot of brain juice, so to speak. And so coming up with a theme like this where the juices the mental juices were very minimal, because I kind of just decided what I wanted on each page as far as what would be on it, and then I kind of just let myself run a little bit wild with the theme. Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, would recommend. It was just a moment of me sitting down, enjoying making the spreads, just filming, relaxing, enjoying the process and actually having fun with it instead of just filming a video because I have everything planned out. You know, it was just very fun because the process of planning everything out and getting everything ready can become a bit mechanic, and it can become a little bit performative because you do think about whether people will like it. You do think about whether it's practical of a theme to make, because some themes, they look beautiful in your head, but you know they're going to take forever. They're going to be very detailed to draw out. They're going to take a lot of energy out of you. And so sometimes I refrain from doing things that I would like to do because of that, just because it's not very practical with the life that I have and things like that. So I feel like I'm rambling at this point. But I think you guys understand it. And I feel like this is something that people also tend to struggle a little bit with bullet journaling, because we go online and we see these beautiful spreads that are very detailed and very maximalist with a lot of detail and things. And your everyday person that has a 9-to-5, comes home, has to commute to and from work, has to take care of the food, has to clean the house, has to do all of these things. There isn't that many hours in a day to be sitting down and going all out on a bullet journal like we see on social media. That's something that I struggle with as someone who produces bullet journaling content for social media. So I can only imagine like the normal person that maybe isn't used to doing this whole time, that isn't really used to coming up with these setups, that maybe doesn't know how to draw properly, that maybe will need to put a little bit more research into planning out themes, you know? So let this be your sign if you struggle with bullet journaling because of that. Just remember, your bullet journal doesn't need to be performative, and it doesn't really need to be matching up with what you're seeing on social media. It needs to be practical, it needs to be useful, it needs to match what you need out of it. So if the most that you can come up with is just lines with a black gel pen and some stickers, that's perfectly fine. If it's just, you know, a fine liner and some washi tapes, that is perfectly fine. Your bullet journal should be looking good for you. So the best thing that you can do, and I've done this myself, is come up with strategies that you know you'll like, but will be minimal in effort, or that will bring you joy in the process of making it. Which, by the way, this setup wasn't really minimal, but it was very fun for me. And the fact that there wasn't that much pre-planning beforehand made it all the more enjoyable. And I hope that makes sense. This setup, by the way, the one before was for like my vision board and my inspiration. I've been diving a little bit more into collages and just like having visual representations of the things that I want to do. This setup, because this past month of July, I realized that my brain starts to wither a little bit when I do not make time intentionally in my day-to-day to create and to be creative. So this page is for just creating in all ways that one can create. So we have a box for YouTube, I have a box for embroidery, I have a box for just social media, I have a box, I think, for learning. Do I have one for crochet? I don't think I have one for crochet, but I think I have one for cooking. I have different boxes for things that I was like, you know what, I want to let myself experiment with this, because it does just boost energy into me. Like creating things, being creative, and injects energy into my life in a way that other things just don't do. And realizing that was like, oh, so this, even though it's time consuming, it actually energizes me. Wow. So, and I think it's good to sometimes have these reflections, because there are things that take up time and they take up energy, sure, but there are things that take up time, but they actually energize you. There are things that you like. And so the fact of engaging in things that you like and that boost you in different ways can actually be a good payoff for the time that you put in. So, because life cannot just be work. Life cannot just be going to work, coming back home, taking care of the home, because it can be very time consuming. Personally, living alone, it's kind of the main problem that I have, is finding that balance between going to work, working, being tired from work, coming home, doing, you know, the basic things that you need to have a home be well kept and you well fed, well taken care of, and still finding time for the things that I enjoy. I feel like that's the thing that most adults struggle with, especially if you're living alone, because you can't really, you can't really just set aside chores for other people to take care of while you're at home. While you are at work, Jesus, struggling with work. No, words. Damn. Sorry, my mind is failing me at this point. But it's just that balance where you have to be the one that does everything. And since you're just putting on these hats of doing everything, you kind of struggle with doing the things that you actually enjoy. You just stick with the things that need to be done, and there isn't that much time for the things that you want to do. And so I've been painfully learning the lesson of, one, prioritizing sleep, because as much as you want to get things done and you procrastinate sleep in the name of getting things done, that actually takes away from your energy for the next day, and you will have less and less energy, and it just snowballs into you not having energy for absolutely anything that you want to do, nor for the things that you need to do. So that's number one. And number two is, I actually need to make a priority out of doing things that I want to do. That needs to be in my calendar. That needs to be something that I actually have to do. I have to make sure that I enjoy my life. I have to make sure that I at least did one thing every day that I enjoyed doing. Because otherwise, when I go to bed, I will not want to go to sleep because I will be ending the day without having done anything that I actually wanted to do. And since that is a pretty sucky feeling, I was going to say something else, but no. Since that is a pretty sucky feeling, you don't want to go to sleep because it feels like your day wasn't yours. That cannot happen. And so that is why, even though I'm not really going in with the usual monthly spreads, I made sure that my creating spread is here for the month of August. This is becoming a priority in my life. I need to make space to be creative, to expend that creative energy that kind of just bubbles up, and it needs to go somewhere, because it's good for my brain, it's good for my mental health, it's good for my physical health even. And so if you are a little creative bug like me, which you pretty much, I'm pretty sure that you are because you are in this video somehow, make sure that you give yourself time for the things that you want to do. Make sure that you give yourself time to express yourself in any way that you can. If that is just setting aside a little bit of time to be a bit more creative with your outfit, do that. If it's just doodling something on a corner of a page every day, do that. Because it's these little things that do really add up when it comes to us making sure that we're having fun, you know? Now, this spread, this is exciting, and I think I'm going to do a video for this when it's done. This is a trip time capsule. I'm going to be traveling this month, and I'm going to be going to 3 different countries in one go, because Europe, they're countries that are very close together, so you can just very easily go across them. But I'm just going to get things on my trip because I tend to do this. I'm the kind of person that collects like a train ticket, a napkin from cafe, a little postcard, a little photo, a little this, a little that, and I'm just gonna make a collage with those things. So I'm setting aside a page in my bullet journal, like where I can kind of put a time capsule of those random tidbits that I grab on trips, and they're kind of useless. Yeah, I'm gonna be making them into a collage, into something pretty. So I'm thinking that I might actually make a video of that when I come back, when I have all of my tidbits. I can just sit down and have a video for that, of me filling out that spread. I think that'll be fun, so I think I might do that. Let me know if you would enjoy seeing that. I haven't done this before ever, actually, but I think that would be really fun. Now, going in with my weekly, because let's actually talk about the bullet journal. I'm rambling a lot this video, but I feel like if you guys have been around here, you'll know that I ramble a little bit about things that I feel are important to talk about, because I feel like a lot of us, we just go through life thinking that we're the only ones feeling this way, and we're like frustrated about things, but there are things that are super, super normal. And it's normal to talk about them, and we should talk about them a little bit more because it helps other people gain perspective, and it helps other people know that they're struggling with the same issues. And there are things that we can actually do to help us get out of that funk, you know? Because it can be very easy to go into a funk of just being an adult and just settling with weird routines that don't actually work, but we don't really know how to change them, so we stick with the routines that are not working, you know? I feel like that's my main reason why I sometimes fall into these funks, because it's the feeling that, well, no one talks about being in them, so I feel kind of lonely in that, and since no one talks about being in them, no one actually really talks about getting out of them either, so then I don't know practical ways that I can maybe start to help myself. Or at least people that kind of align with me, at least people that are, you know, creatives, but they actually enjoy their 9 to 5, and that they do enjoy like living alone, and they do enjoy, you know, multiple things. Because I feel like we see a lot of creatives that are just creatives and they feel really trapped in like a 9 to 5. I don't feel trapped in a 9 to 5. I like my 9 to 5. I like having a 9 to 5 and then coming home and being creative. But that takes some balance that you really need to find, you know? I hope this is making sense. But for my weekly, I wanted something very simple. And like I said, I will be traveling, so I will only be doing a weekly for this first week, and then the other 2, I believe, because I won't really be needing that for the week that I'm traveling in. but I wanted something very minimal. I just wanted some boxes for the days of the week. I wanted a space to journal a little bit, and I wanted some goals. And as per usual in my channel, I needed a calendar. I'm no one if I don't have a calendar in my weeklies. And for the spread, I dialed it down a little bit more with the flowers because I went a little bit overboard with some of the other spreads. Now, going in with the final flip through, I am so happy with how this video turned out. It turned out so cute. I'm in love with this spread. I think it's so fun, so like summery. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys enjoyed as well. Let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite spread, if you enjoyed seeing me play with these acrylic markers, if you also, like me, have struggles with being in these funks. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation in the comments. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!